Hey, what's up guys, Josh Allen here back with another video. Today we'll be trying out a recipe for making one short crust pastry and another recipe for vanilla custard that serves up to 4 persons. Well, before jumping into the recipe video, here's a brief history of both short crust pastries and custard. Now, short crust was created during the 18th century and was originated from Venice, Italy. Short crust pastry is most commonly found in making pies. Back then, pies were mostly all meaty, and the history of pies could date back to the ancient Egyptian, Roman, and even the medieval times. Now moving on with the custard. The custard was also a popular dessert commonly found in European cuisines. The custard was simply just a thickened combination of milk and eggs brought up to simmer. Custard was also a popular treat discovered during the 15th century as known as the Middle Ages. Now, custard can also be made eggless and in powdered form, and was created from Alfred Bird, whose wife was allergic to eggs. Alright, now that we are done with the short history class, let's move on with the rest of the video. So here's the ingredients we need to make the short crust. So we need 250 grams of flour, 5 grams of salt, 25 grams of sugar, 1 egg yolk, 125 grams of butter, and 50 milliliters of water. Alright, now in a mixing bowl, I'll be combining the dry ingredients first. So in we go with the flour, the salt, and the sugar. Our next step will be just simply mixing all the dry ingredients together using a wide whisk. Now we'll be adding the butter. Make sure that the butter is in room temperature and isn't entirely melted before adding it into the dry ingredients. Now the next step can be messy. We'll be simply just combining the dry ingredients and the butter together to develop that crumbly texture before adding the wet ingredients. This process can actually be done with a table mixer, but I've decided to just do it the old-fashioned way with my hands. And definitely, gloves are advised to be worn doing this. Next up, I'll be creating a well in the middle of the crumbly dough to add in the wet ingredients. Here I have an egg yolk that is already separated. Then pouring in the 50 milliliters of water. Now continuously just using my hands to mix all ingredients well together. Both egg yolks and water work as moisteners in the short crust dough. Now here's where the fun begins. I'll be dusting my workboard with flour, then proceed into kneading the short crust dough for about a minute. Now that I'm done with the kneading process, I'll be placing this dough in the fridge to set for about 20 minutes, and it can actually be up to 2 hours. After 20 minutes of allowing the dough to chill and set, I'll be using a rolling pin to flatten the dough into a more or less circled shape in order to fit into the tart mold. In order to fit the dough onto the tart mold, will be first to fold the flattened dough into a triangle, then transferring it onto the mold. Now just by using a fork, I'll be poking some holes on the base of the dough, allowing it to cook more evenly in the oven. The next step is called blind baking. I'll be using an aluminum foil to hold the riser's weights. This will allow the pie crust to not be soggy when filling is added. Finally, I'll be baking this in an oven for about 20 to 25 minutes in 180 degrees Celsius oven. Alright, now moving on with the custard. The ingredients I'll be using today to make a simple vanilla custard is 30 grams of sugar, 10 grams of cornstarch, 15 grams of flour, 2 egg yolks, vanilla extract, and 200 milliliters of milk. First, I'll be pouring in the 200 milliliters of milk into a small sized saucepan. Then adding just a splash of vanilla, but here I'll be using just a teaspoon to be exact. Bring the mixture into a light simmer and stir. Then in another mixing bowl, I'll be combining both the egg yolks and the dry ingredients together. Now using a wide whisk to mix all the ingredients well together into a creamy texture. Now the next step, I'll be using a ladle to scoop up some boiled milk. This is similar to what we call a hot milk method. I'll be pouring in the hot milk into the mixing bowl to mix, giving it a slight wash. Then as soon as the thick creamy integrity weakens, I'll be pouring the ingredients from the mixing bowl into the saucepan and stirring everything up together. For the next step, I'll be using a mesh sieve in order to filter and sieve out the curds and clumps of the flour. Again, we want the custard to have a smooth texture. Now that the preparation of custard is complete, I'll be placing it into the fridge to allow it to chill. Meanwhile, the short crust has already done baking. I'll be letting it cool for a while, then removing the weights and removing the short crust from the mold. Well, it will be advisable to have a detachable mold where the base could easily come out of the sides of the mold. Well, that's about it. Just a simple recipe on making a short crust recipe and a vanilla custard recipe. Now that we have both recipes done, we can simply combine it using the custard as the filling of the pie. Now that can be an easily made dessert. Thanks for watching.